Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's first video, doing JMA Friday for today's first video. So as always on a Friday, we're having your detailed month-ahead look ahead, and it's going to take us into the second half of December. We finished just short of Christmas with this update, so next week, JMA Friday, will cover the Christmas period, but at the moment we finished just short of that, but we do go into the second half of December with this update. So you'll see what the JMA and the CFS V2 models are showing for the first part of December anyway in today's first video. Coming up later on today here on the homepage this afternoon will be your regular week to 10 day video update, and then loads of updates coming up over the weekend, and I'll talk you through those at the end of the video. But starting us off is the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the JMA, broken down into weekly periods. So the first week period will take us from the 23rd through to the 30th of November. Looking at the North Pole view down, first of all, so this is the this is the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere, just here in the latitudes. Northern Hemisphere are around there. Blue is extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure. Yellow, orange and red extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure. So in the week ahead, we still have this blocking area of high pressure to the north of the UK, kind of like from the Atlantic side of Canada through Greenland and over towards Scandinavia as well. And then we have this area of below average heights underneath it. Low pressure is riding in from the eastern part of America, quite a deep area of low pressure in the eastern states, being very cold weather to them, and then the jet stream coming across the Atlantic, but on a southerly track due to this blocking. Now, eventually, this low pressure is probably going to become more influential as it starts to move in from off the Atlantic. So, at the end of this period, we are likely to see milder conditions breaking through from off the Atlantic, but at least for a while, that is still quite a cold scenario. Then we go through to week 2, which takes us from the 30th of November through to the 7th of December, with below average heights again across the central part of the Atlantic, also backing into much of America, so remaining cold across particularly southern and eastern parts of the states. We do have this ridge building across central and southern parts of Europe, and we still have some blocking up here, although it is weaker, around Greenland. So this is turning us mild. We've still got very cold air digging down with a jet stream into America, but then as that jet comes across the Atlantic, it rises up a little bit like that, and we start to pull up a milder southwesterly wind. So that is quite a lot milder as we're going through the first week of December. Unsettled, yes, low pressure in the Atlantic will continue to bring outbreaks of rain at times, particularly to the north and west, but with the winds turning into west or southwesterly, it will be a milder start to December. Memory to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 7th through to the 21st of December, and we look like this. So above average heights sitting generally to the north of the UK, across Scotland, and then generally to the north of the British Isles. We've got below average heights still into the east of America and through the central parts of the Atlantic, and a trough is digging down across northeastern Europe and western Russia as well. So very cold air is moving down into the northeast of Europe with that. Still very cold air pushing into the east of America. For us, so we've got this high pressure that's sitting over just a little bit to the north of the UK. Which means overall the wind direction is probably coming in something a little bit like that. So kind of like southeasterlies, but it won't take much of an adjustment to put us into an easterly. So this could imply, as we go further into December, we possibly see signs of blocking coming back, and maybe turning cold as we get further into December, although bear in mind that's a 2-weekly anomaly, so it could be something like week 3 is still relatively mild and Atlantic driven. Week 4 goes colder, potentially a lot colder. Something like that could be happening there, but overall I think the hints are there anyway that we might start to get some blocking beginning to return to our side of the North Pole as we go through into weeks 3 and 4, which takes us into the middle of December. We have got high pressure up over top of the pole around here, and this ridge that we have around Iceland to the north of British Isles could well sort of reach to the main block, which is over the top of the pole. If that happened, if you started to form a big area of high pressure somewhere around there, then again you could start to force much colder air out from the North Pole. So quite an interesting week 3 and 4, 500 millibar height anomaly there. This is how the mid-latitude and tropical view is looking in terms of temperature and precipitation anomalies. So we go back to week 1, this taking us from the 23rd through to the 30th of November, with below average heights out to west coast. You can't see the North Pole now, but of course we just saw that view. The North Pole is up here off the chart, really. So we continue to have that very strong blocking signal up to our north, with the below average heights down to the south, bringing the jet stream in a little bit like that. Temperature anomalies then in the week ahead are forecast to be below average, so a colder than average week overall coming up from the 23rd through to the 30th of November. Precipitation wise, we're looking like this, gradually being turned a little bit more unsettled, so above average precipitation out to the west of the country, but still a little bit drier than average up to the north and the northeast, close to that blocking feature. Then we're into week 2, which is the 30th of November to the 7th of December, with below average heights in the middle of the Atlantic, above average heights rising to our south and southeast. So that will be turning wind into a southwesterly, so looking quite a lot milder there as we go through into the first week of December. So we look like this, with the temperature anomaly milder than average for that week, the 30th of November to the 7th of December, also milder than average through many central parts of Europe as well. A cold week across many parts of Northern America, you'll notice. And the precipitation anomaly is going above average, so rainfall goes above average this week as those southwesterly winds bring in areas of low pressure, but also milder temperatures from off the Atlantic. Then we're into weeks 3 and 4, taking us from the 7th through to the 21st of December, with the above average heights generally a little bit to the north of the British Isles, going up to there and also to our east to some degree. Wind direction we thought would probably be kind of like southeasterly for the 2 weeks overall. The temperature anomaly is still forecast to be average to milder than average here. It's not a big deviation, but it is going for average to milder than average temperature anomalies there, which is a little bit surprising given the 500 millibar heights of building high pressure over and to the north of the British Isles. You'd expect at the very least that would be bringing quite a lot of frost and fog. But remember, weeks 3 and 4, so it's the 2 weekly anomaly, might be a little bit transitional. Precipitation wise, still looks quite unsettled actually, with above average rainfall through many parts of the British Isles. That's a little bit surprising again, given the 500 millibar heights of building a ridge kind of like to the north. But again, remember, it's 2 weekly, so it could be that week 3 perhaps is very mild and wet, very mild, very wet. Week 4 maybe goes drier and colder, but for the 2 weeks overall, it's not enough to send us into a drier and colder temperature anomaly for the 2 weeks. So I just have to bear that in mind with the 2 weekly temperature anomaly. Right, so that's the JMA done. This is how the CFS V2 is looking for the next month. So again, these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 23rd through to the 29th of November, with above average heights in the week ahead to the north and to the north of the British Isles. Below average heights in the middle of the Atlantic, again probably bringing in an east-southeast wind, which should be cold, although this low pressure will eventually be trying to bring milder air in from off the Atlantic Ocean. Then we go through to week 2. This is the 30th of November to the 6th of December. Very different weather pattern here, with above average heights building to our south and southwest, below average heights to our west and northwest, and so between the two we're bringing in these mild or maybe even very mild southwesterly winds. So more unsettled, yes, but also a lot milder through the first week of December. Then we're into week 3. This is the 7th to the 13th of December, with again above average heights generally centred to the south and southwest of the British Isles, below average heights out in the Atlantic. There is a bit of a blocking signal up across Greenland and the North Pole, but not enough to force us into a cold pattern. So again, we will be bringing the air in from a west or southwesterly direction. So, first half of December with the CFS's forecast this morning to be mild or maybe even very mild. And this goes on into week 4. So this is a very mild December being forecast now by the CFS V2. This is going from the 14th to the 20th of December with, again, the above average heights, this time centred across central parts of Europe, somewhere around the Alps. Below average heights out to the northwest. So, again, we will bring the wind in from a west or southwesterly direction like that. That's pretty grim if you want cold weather before Christmas, I have to say. It does stop just short of Christmas, so we can't say what would happen over Christmas itself, but certainly up towards Christmas, that's pretty grim, and certainly no December to remember, other than for being pretty mild. So temperature anomalies for week 1 are starting off fairly cold. This is going from the 23rd to 29th of December, below average temperature anomalies in the week ahead. And many parts of Europe also still below average with their temperature anomaly. But look what happens into week 2. Look away now if you want cold weather, because week 2, the 30th of November to the 6th of December goes very mild for the UK and for Ireland. Also goes very mild for much of Europe as well. Eastern America looking really, really cold. We go through to week 3. And again, much milder than average in week 3 from the 7th to the 13th of December across not just the UK but most of Europe as well. Also, it's going a lot milder across many parts of the States too. And then week 4 taking us up towards Christmas. This is the 14th to the 20th of December. Much milder than average temperature anomalies there, and across many central parts of Europe as well. Also looking very mild across most parts of America as well. Precipitation wise, the week ahead shows a bit of a north-south split. 23rd of November to 29th of November is drier than average to the north, a little bit wetter than average down to the southwest. Then we're into week 2, which is the 30th of November to the 6th of December, looking wetter than average in most parts of the country in this week. Week 3, precipitation is weakening, as it often does, the 7th to the 13th of December in week 3, looking close to average. And then week 4 actually hints at being a little bit wetter than average again. This is how week 4 is looking from the 14th to the 20th of December. Generally a little bit on the wetter than average side, but not a big deviation. So, pretty grim stuff if you want cold weather in December. Certainly no sign of a December to remember there. No sign of a December 2010. If anything, after we get the cold weather out of the way that we're currently into, it looks as though we're going really mild as we go into start of December. And the CFS wants to extend this out into even the second half of December. Now, could be going a little bit over top with that. JMA, I think the JMA, out of the 2 models, the JMA is the best if you would like something a bit more seasonable going up towards Christmas, because at least the JMA does start to build those above average heights in week 3 and 4 over and to the north of the British Isles, whereas the CFS just wants to keep those above average heights to the south and southwest, and so that forces the air up from the central part of the Atlantic. So out of the 2, JMA is the one you should be hoping for in terms of a colder outcome, but overall they are generally quite mild through the first half of December, and then we're going to wait and see, I suppose, where things go in the second half of December, because that's a really long way out. So starting quite cold, yes, going milder through the final days of November. These milder conditions then strengthen into the early part of December. The first half of December probably shaping up to be relatively mild, unsettled, quite wet. And then we'll know more next week, I think, where this is going into the second half of December. A lot of the months recently, including this one, have generally had milder weather in the first half of the month and then have become colder in the second half of the month. That's been an ongoing trend pretty much since August or September, I think. So we've been in this sort of pattern for a while, that the first sort of 2 weeks of the month have generally been the mildest phase, and then the second 2 weeks of the month generally been the coldest phase. So maybe we'll see something like that in December. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly the first half of December is shaping up to be quite mild with JMA Friday today. Right, come back this afternoon when we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. Better get rid of that. Come back this afternoon when we'll have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.